The Epic Universe hype is real, and that means huge crowds and even longer wait times. Hello everybody, welcome. Today we are going to talk about what sort of wait times you can expect for all of the attractions, and what's the best way to make sure that you get the most out of your visit. Epic Universe opening is right around the corner, and it is sure to be one of the most popular parks in the world. And as the old saying goes, with great popularity comes even greater wait times. Okay, so maybe that's not the saying, but it is now. Though the park isn't even open yet, previews are in full swing, and this is giving us our first official peek and look into the wait times that we can expect for all these attractions. Now you may be asking, how exactly do I know what the wait times are going to be if the park isn't even technically open? Well, let me show you. Most of you probably know that you can download the Universal Orlando Resort app, and that will show you all the wait times in the park for Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. For the two existing parks, you don't have to be inside the park or in proximity of the park in order to see the wait times for each attraction. However, for Epic Universe, it's a little bit different. In order to see the wait times per attraction, you have to be physically inside the park in order to see them. Now, this is not unlike what it used to be like for Disney many years ago. Back when the Disney app originally launched, you couldn't see the wait times unless you were physically in the park. Eventually, they changed that so you can now see the wait times whether you're in or outside the park. Now, Universal does the same thing. You don't have to be inside the park. However, the technology to know whether or not you're inside the park or outside or in proximity of the park still exists and is still in use today. As an example, in Disney, when the virtual queues were running for the 1 p.m. drop, you had to be inside the park and scanned into the park in order to see those virtual queues. Universal does the same thing. In order to do things like the virtual queue for the Mardi Gras parade or the virtual queue for rides like Jimmy Fallon, you have to be inside the park in order to get one. Now, for Epic Universe, you cannot see the actual wait times. Now, we assume this might just be for previews, and it may eventually unlock like it is for Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure, where you can see the wait times whether you're in or outside the park. But for right now, you can't see the actual wait times. Even though they hide the wait time, you can still sort by the wait times. By default, when you go into the wait times for attractions, it is sorted by type, and then you can change it to A to Z, or you can change it by wait times. And when you sort it by wait time, it puts all of the attractions into different buckets. For example, 15 minutes or less, or 30 minutes or less, or 45, 60, 90, etc. It will put them into buckets so you can see what the general wait time is for the attraction, even though it's not showing you the actual wait time. So using this, we can figure out the general wait times for all the attractions and how popular they are. Now, one thing to note is that the times that are shown right now are during previews. This means they are still in technical rehearsals. That means that things are going to be constantly going up and down and up and down, and things are going to be shut down. Things are going to be closed for the entire day. So that definitely affects the wait times and may not be representative of the final wait times once the park is fully opened. So this is not going to be a perfect system, but it is a good way to get a general idea of what they will be. The most important thing, however, is that we can understand the relativity of the wait times between attractions. What do I mean by the relative wait times? I can see whether one attraction has a much longer wait time than another attraction. So in general, I can see them in buckets and say this attraction seems to always have a much higher wait time than this attraction, and it seems to have this much of a difference in wait time. So even though overall the wait times may go up or down once the park is fully open and they're at full capacity and everything is running smoothly, this is still a great indicator to show us how much or how little of a difference in wait time there is relative between the attractions. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video where I talked about express passes and the availability and what rides they would be for and what rides won't be available for express passes, I talked about how those assessments are made, and I'll talk a little bit about what drives wait times. So 3 primary dimensions. The first is popularity of the ride, the second is capacity, and the last one is uptime. So, for example, even though an attraction may be super popular, if it has a high capacity, meaning can get a lot of people onto a ride and off of a ride really quickly, it can cycle a lot of people through, and it has good uptime, the wait time overall may not be that bad. So just because an attraction is very popular doesn't mean that it's going to have a high wait time. Conversely, an attraction that is not as popular, if it has a bad capacity, meaning it can't get that many people through it very quickly, it may have a high wait time. To see a great example of that, we can look no further than Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. If you think of an attraction like Space Mountain, which typically has around a 60, maybe a 45 to 60 minute wait for Space Mountain on average. Space Mountain is hugely popular. It's a large attraction. However, it puts through about 1,800 people per hour. Then we look at something like Peter Pan's Flight. This attraction usually has a 90-minute wait on average, sometimes even up to a 120-minute wait. And this is because it can only put through 800 people on average per hour. So there's a huge difference in the capacity between those two attractions. Even though I'd say Space Mountain is probably much more popular than Peter Pan's Flight, Peter Pan's Flight's capacity is not good at all, so the wait times are adjusted accordingly. Now there are a couple of other variables really quickly. One is the newness of the attraction. So if an attraction is newer, it could have a little bit more wait time than an attraction that is older. However, at Epic Universe, pretty much everything is new, although there are a couple of attractions in Super Nintendo World that also exist in other parks. This is a new attraction for this particular area and this park, so we're still going to count it as a new attraction. And the other variable, which is a big one, a big factor when it comes to wait times, is accessibility. And accessibility covers a wide range of individuals from size, shape, height, everything, but also accessibility when it comes to kid-friendly attractions. Thrill rides specifically that are tailor-made for kids and adults to enjoy simultaneously. Those are always going to be the most popular attractions in any theme park. Some good examples of those are Slinky Dog Dash, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, even Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Test Track, and of course, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Those are some of the highest popularity and wait times in any of the parks because they are so accessible to everybody, and kids absolutely love those attractions. Now, if we look at other attractions like Velocicoaster, Hulk, Rip Ride Rocket, and even Expedition Everest over at Animal Kingdom, and over at Hollywood Studios, Rockin' Roller Coaster. All of these attractions have one thing in common. They are super intense roller coasters or attractions that, yes, some kids can enjoy, a lot of kids can enjoy it, adults can enjoy it. However, it does cut out some demographics, some types of people who just can't stand intense roller coasters. I remember specifically when Velocicoaster first opened, people were talking about how crazy the lines were going to be and that it was going to basically outpace Hagrid's, and I kept saying right out of the gate, it's not going to happen. Hagrid's is always going to be way more popular. Why? Well, Hagrid's technically is probably the best experiential roller coaster on the planet, don't get me wrong. Velocicoaster, I think, is probably the best intense roller coaster on the planet. And when you look at those variables about accessibility, Hagrid's wins hands down. It's way more accessible than Velocicoaster. So guess what happened? Hagrid's way higher wait times than Velocicoaster. Not even close. So let's take a look at some of the wait times that we're seeing at Epic Universe. Now, these wait times I'm showing here, these were wait times during the first sold out previews that they've had so far. Now, I took a look at varying times of the day, and I've been monitoring this for days and days and weeks now and looking at wait times at different points of the day. The best time to understand how popular an attraction is going to be is to look at them really early in the morning when there's that first flood of guests that come into the park and everybody races to their first attraction. Right after that is around noon to 1 o'clock after lunchtime, sort of the busiest time of day for theme parks in Orlando. That's another good spot to look. And then the last one is a few hours before closing. And this one is also a key indicator because a lot of kids will end up leaving the parks and families will leave the parks as it gets later in the evening because they're getting kind of tired and worn out and it's time for them to head home. And so the wait times can shift a little bit because of that. Now, one caveat I want to make is all the rides are highly volatile right now. They are constantly going up, constantly going down. I'm seeing things at one point in the day, there was only 3 attractions running at Epic Universe. Just 3 attractions. And none of them would I say would be their heavy hitter attractions. So this made wait times skyrocket through the roof for those 3 attractions because that's all that was open. So based on all this, all the math, all the analysis, everything I've done, I've come to a few conclusions where I can definitively say I believe these are the wait times that we can expect on average for all these different attractions, and I'm going to break them down by bucket so you can know what to expect. First, I want to talk about what I believe are going to be the top busiest rides in all of Epic Universe on average for most of the day. Now, this first bucket is going to be on average between 60 and 90 minute waits. So this is our highest bucket that we have, 60 to 90 minutes. That's the window of time you're going to expect for these attractions. Now, currently I have 3 attractions in this bucket, and you may be surprised when I tell you what they are. First off is Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. This ride is going to be awesome. It already exists. People do enjoy the ride. It's in other parks, but it's the first time it's coming to Orlando. And here's the deal. This is a popular Super Nintendo IP. People love Mario Kart. This is also a very accessible ride because pretty much anybody can ride it. Kids can ride it. Kids can enjoy it. And it also has sort of a AR, VR, if you will, component to it. So you have to put on a helmet, a mask thing, basically glasses. And so that means a little bit slower loading times. It also doesn't have a super high capacity. I think the uptime will be pretty reasonably decent for this because it's an existing attraction, but it's going to be very popular and it's going to have lower capacity, which equals higher wait times. And on average during the previews, this thing has been at the top. We're talking 60 to 90 minutes. The only time it wasn't almost up to 90 minutes was when it was down. So we can expect that to be a very popular attraction. The next one is also in Super Nintendo World, and it is Donkey Kong Minecart Madness. It's a brand new ride that does not exist over in Universal in Hollywood. It is something that is only going to be here in Universal Orlando Resort in the States. And people love Donkey Kong. It's also a low-key thrill ride. So again, it meets all that criteria I said. It's a thrill ride, but it is very accessible for all ages. And it has a very low, probably one of the worst capacities of any attraction in all of Epic Universe. You can only put 4 people in each one of the carts. So that low capacity and lots of popularity is going to equal, it also has kind of bad uptime right now, but I think that will get fixed eventually. That equals long wait times, 60 to 90 minutes for sure. That's what we've been seeing. I think that's going to continue. The last one in this bucket is Hiccup's Wing Gliders. This is the marquee attraction in How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk. The roller coaster, the sensation of flying like a dragon throughout the entire Isle of Berk, all across the land. This is your Slinky Dog Dash for Epic Universe. If you know anything about Slinky Dog Dash, it is one of the highest wait times in all of the parks across all of Disney World. Why? Because it is a kids attraction. It is not super intense. It has a couple of launches, but they're fairly mild. It's an IP people love, which is Toy Story. It's also great for adults. People love this attraction. Hiccup's Wing Gliders is going to be the Slinky Dog Dash for Epic Universe. Mark it down. And so far, it has had a crazy high wait time all day long. So those are the big 3, and you're probably saying, I don't believe anything this guy says right now because he hasn't said anything about Monsters Unchained. I didn't hear him say Stardust Racers, and I didn't hear him say anything about Battle with the Ministry. He's crazy. There's no way those 3 attractions are going to be the highest. I'm telling you, those are going to be the most brutal waits in the park. However, let's go down to the next bucket, and you're going to start seeing some of these other ones appear. This next bucket is our 45 to 60 minute category. That's going to be about the average wait time I'm expecting for these attractions. The first one is what I just mentioned, Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment. This attraction is amazing. Everybody has said it's probably the greatest attraction ever made, and it is absolutely out of this world, and it's pretty accessible, but not nearly as accessible as Hiccup's Wing Gliders or Donkey Kong Minecart Madness. It's pretty intense. It does move around a lot. People can get motion sick from it, just like Forbidden Journey and Spider-Man. So I do think that that is going to put a little bit of a hamper. Plus, it's a little scary, potentially, and so younger kids may not be into it. So that is one element of why I don't think the wait time is going to be bad, and it hasn't been bad so far from what we've seen. In addition, it has a pretty high capacity for an attraction. So though it will be popular, it's not super accessible, and it also has a high capacity. And that's why you're seeing wait times between 45 and 60 minutes for this attraction on average. The next one on the list is Stardust Racers. This one for sure is going to be popular, but this is your Velocicoaster. This is your Dueling Dragons. This is your high intensity roller coaster, dueling with each other, upside down, corkscrews, loops, everything you could think of, super intense. Goes 60 miles an hour, which is only 10 mile an hour less than Velocicoaster, has multiple launches, is going to be a crazy awesome attraction, but it has pretty great capacity as long as everything runs and it doesn't crater, it doesn't valley and get stuck, and they don't have issues with it. If they can keep the uptime on this thing rolling, even though it is a popular super intense roller coaster, I just don't think it's highly accessible, and I don't think there's as many people wanting to ride it, and it has a high capacity. It's going to be 45 to 60 minutes. That's what we've been seeing so far. However, I will say it has peaked higher than that, of course, and that's usually because it's been down for a while, or it just happens to be one of those moments in the day where everything seems to skyrocket, but on average, 45 to 60. And the last one in this category might surprise you, and that is Curse of the Werewolf. This is again another Dark Universe attraction, but it is a low intensity version of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Everybody knows how popular Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is. One of the most popular attractions ever made at Walt Disney World. It is absolutely awesome. This is kind of a version of that, but just way less intense. So you bring it down to the accessibility level of this ride, goes through the roof, like crushes even Cosmic Rewind. Doesn't spin nearly as much, doesn't go as fast, isn't as long, isn't as wild, just a more chill version of that. And I don't think the capacity of this ride is all that great. So this is again another highly accessible kids ride, fairly popular, and it doesn't have a super high capacity. So far we've been seeing really high wait times for Curse of the Werewolf. So even though it seems kind of like a low-key kids ride, maybe something that wasn't even on your list as one of the top 5 attractions that you wanted to run to, it is going to have a long wait time. Now moving on to our 45 minutes or less. These are your low wait times. These are the things you can kind of just meander over to at any point in the day once you got all the heavy hitters done. This is your Pirates of the Caribbean or your Haunted Mansion ride or your E.T. ride or your Simpsons. First one is going to be Fire Drill. Now this one really hasn't been open much during previews, but it does have a high capacity throughput. It's a water attraction where you get wet, which typically don't have the hugest lines unless it is absolutely scorching outside. Then all bets are off. Forget about it. It's going to be the highest wait of the day. But for the most part, it's not going to be a super high wait time. Then we have Constellation Carousel. That is fairly accessible, but it is a spinning ride. So it's a carousel. It's more like Mad Hatter's Teacups because it has 3 independently rotating platforms that rotate around each other. And the little carousel creatures that you sit on, they also spin independently and go up and down around like 6 to 8 feet high, I believe. And so it's a little bit more intense version of your standard carousel, but it's pretty accessible, it's pretty chill. So I just don't think that people are going to be flocking to Constellation Carousel. So far the wait times have been pretty low for this particular attraction. Then we have our last attraction over in Super Nintendo World, Yoshi's Adventure. This is your ultra slow moving people mover type attraction, Haunted Mansion type attraction. I mean, this thing just moves really slow. It's a nice scenic tour through Yoshi's world, and it's a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable. It's a chill ride. Pretty much everybody can ride it, but it's nothing that's going to blow your hair back. So, and it has a pretty decent capacity because it's an Omni mover, so it's always going to have sort of a lower wait time. The last one in this bucket is Dragon Racers Rally. I've talked about this one in the past. It is a spinner ride, so it not only does it spin around in a circle and kind of go up and down and pivot, it also has the ability to spin your seat independently upside down. Now it does take some work to do that. There's some videos out there that kind of show you how to maneuver those wing flaps to try to get some spinning action. It's pretty cool. I've actually studied it because I want to be spinning the whole time that I'm on that thing. But again, lots of like spinning, rotating rides like that, kind of intense, kind of spin. A lot of people don't like them. They're not into it. I think that's going to keep the wait time down. The only reason that I think the wait time will be upwards of 45 minutes and maybe even more is because this also has probably the worst capacity of any attraction in the park, along with Donkey Kong's Minecart Madness. So those are the big buckets, and you may be saying, I think you've forgotten attraction there, bud. What about Harry Potter and the battle at the Ministry? Didn't hear anything about that. Well, here's why. It's because it hasn't been running. Nobody knows how long this thing is. Nobody knows how long it takes to load this thing. And we certainly don't know what the uptime is on this because it's always been down. So I'm expecting, based on everything we know about the attraction, how it's built, the ride vehicles, what it's like, it's going to be similar to maybe a Spider-Man, which has decent capacity, pretty popular, fun attraction, reasonably accessible, probably a little bit less accessible than Spider-Man, but still pretty accessible. I think it's going to be a popular attraction. On average, I think we're going to see netting out times on that attraction between 45 and 60 minutes, so probably falls in that second tier. But because of the fact that they haven't been able to get it running, and because of the fact that it's so brand new and it is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, I think right out of the gate we're going to see skyrocketing wait times. 90 minutes is going to be in that top category, but I think over time it is going to find its home in that second category. But until it's completely open and it's been running for a while, we just don't know for sure. Now, it is important to note that all these attractions are going to have peaks and valleys. There's going to be times where you see something that's in the 90-minute category at the 120-minute category. There will be times when it's only a 30-minute wait, and vice versa. Some of the smaller, easier rides that are maybe 30 minutes on average, you might see at 60 minutes as well. So there will always be times of the day where it will peak and valley. What's important, if you want to get the most out of your vacation, is to constantly be checking the wait times on the app and see things bouncing around. Different points of the day, these things will be less of a wait time. So what's my recommendation? Everybody wants to know, what's my recommendation? What's my path? When I go to Epic Universe, where am I going to go first? What do you recommend? What order should we do the attractions in? And I'm going to tell you what my recommendation is for everybody out there, and this may surprise you because you probably didn't see this coming at all. Starting out when the park opens, my recommendation is go to Super Nintendo World. Hit it hard. Get everything done. Start with the Mario Kart attraction, move from there over to the Donkey Kong Mine Kart Madness, and then if you really got time, do Yoshi's, but I would probably skip Yoshi's and move on. Just get those two big attractions in Super Nintendo World, and then head immediately over to How to Train Your Dragon, and hop straight to Hiccup's Wing Gliders. While you're at How to Train Your Dragon, you should also hit up the Untrainable Dragon show while you're there before you move on to another area of the park. Untrainable Dragon is going to be a spectacular show, and by the time you get done with those first three attractions, it's probably going to be into the 11 o'clock time frame, maybe even noon, depending on how fast you move through the park. This is going to be a good time to watch the show, get out of the sun, relax a little bit, watch the show, and then eat lunch immediately after, or potentially lunch right before then, depending on how slow you are or how fast you move again. And they've got great food in the mead hall. They've got great food in the Super Nintendo World area. So depending on where you're at, do lunch right before or after. Get that Untrainable Dragon show done, because typically the shows at Universal and Disney, they tend to stop running around the 3, 4, and 5 o'clock time frame, which means if you wait too long for these shows, you're not going to get to see them at all. One of the other big reasons I recommend this approach is because of early entry. If you're staying on site in a hotel at Universal, you get early entry into the park. And the early entry attractions are the Super Nintendo World attractions and Stardust Racers. So if you get early entry, heading to those as quickly as possible and getting them done and knocked out before regular entry happens, you can get a lot more done and then focus on running over to How to Train Your Dragon, or maybe even throwing Stardust Racers in there if that interests you. But just know, when that regular entry general admission happens, people are all going to go straight to Super Nintendo World, probably straight to How to Train Your Dragon and Stardust Racers, and those are going to fill up really quickly. So those are why you really need to hit those. Plus, they're in the front sort of part of the park where most people are going to be coming, other than the Helios Grand people, and those people came in with you at early entry. A lot of people are going to be going to Super Nintendo World and How to Train Your Dragon. So you're going to want to get those done first. Once you're done with all of that, then head to Ministry of Magic. Absolutely, as long as it's running. If the battle at the Ministry is running and everything's firing, go to battle at the Ministry, head over to the Ministry of Magic, jump right into that ride, get it done. As soon as that is done, you're gonna maybe watch the Les Cirque Arcanu show if you feel like that's super interesting to you. I think it's the weaker show of the two shows in Epic Universe, so you may skip it if you don't really want to watch it. But that's my recommendation. Now, I would also, again, pay attention to wait times. So if once you're done with the How to Train Your Dragon and you're looking at Ministry of Magic, Battle with the Ministry, and it's a 2-hour wait, go do something else. Go watch Le Cirque Arcanu, go do the Constellation Carousel. Heck, even pay attention and look at Stardust Racers, see what's going on there. Maybe you pop on there. It could be low-key, less wait time during the middle of the day. It's pretty hot. People are eating lunch, taking a break. Might be a good time to hit Stardust. But as soon as that Battle with the Ministry is looking good, head on over there. Once you're done with all of those, starting to get a little later into the day, maybe it's even starting to get dark, Dark Universe. That's going to be your last stop. Hopefully it's nighttime by the time you get there. You're getting to experience it in all of its full and amazing splendor. Obviously go straight to Monsters Unchained. Get that knocked out. Again, I don't think it's going to have a hugely high wait time. You don't need to run straight there. Go there at the end of the night. And then maybe do Curse of the Werewolf while you're there. Maybe eat dinner over at the Burning Blade Tavern. Then, of course, you got the water shows in the middle. You got the fireworks to do. You can hit some of those other rides randomly, like Yoshi's Adventure. It's not going to have a high wait time. And that's pretty much your day. So that's my overall path. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, what am I going to do? What's the Noble Way going to do when they first get there? Well, guess what? I'm not going to follow any of my own advice that I just gave you because I'm most likely going to go straight to Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment. Why? It's only because it's in the very beginning. I'm going to be there opening day. I don't want it to break down and then not get to ride it. So that's the only reason. If this thing had been running for a while, if I was going a month or two after opening day, I would just let it chill. I'd let it cook. I'd do the other stuff. I'd follow my own advice, and then I'd go over to Dark Universe at the end and ride Monsters Unchained. But because I don't want to miss out on it, it's like the #1 ride for me that I want to experience. I think I'm going to head straight there and I'm going to hit it. So that's the only other thing. If you have your heart set on one attraction and you just if you don't do anything else in that park besides that one attraction, go do it. Just forget everything I said. Go do that. And then maybe go do what I said. So like, don't miss out on that. Because with the uptime going up and down, and these rides breaking down left and right because it's so early on, if you want to guarantee the best shot of getting to ride that one thing you want to ride, you got to go straight to it. And then you got to try to stick around there the whole day until you get to ride it. So that's all I've got. That's my advice. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. What's your path that you're going to take? Again, you can check out the wait times for yourself. Use my trick. Go on the Orlando Resort app, hit that wait times, and order it by wait times, filter it. You'll be able to see them yourself. You'll be able to see how it's bouncing throughout the day. Do your homework before you arrive. That's just some advice. Anyhow, thanks again for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share my content. Can't wait to see you in the park. If you see me there, definitely stop me and say hello. I love chatting with people. It's awesome. Hopefully I meet you there. Until I see you next time, the Noble Way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.